Three, two, one. Peter, good to see you. How are you, sir?
Very good. Other than balmy 30 degrees outside up here, we're doing awesome.
Well, that's what comes with living in Minnesota, right?
Correct.
So what do you do and why are we having this conversation? Tell us a little bit about that.
So we're a residential general contractor up here building residential homes. And we looking to scale and grow, but felt that the biggest bottleneck started with us, meaning myself. And the reason why I was intrigued and reached out was is I needed to figure out how do I focus on changing the mindset from what was currently going on to what needed to be to take the company to the next level?
Beautiful. But would you say you joined because of a mindset that you thought was not right? Was more like a focus discipline? Was it strategic thinking? What was it?
I'd say it's all the above. And they all come in how you adjust, how you look at stuff. Um, I'm too much of a let's just get it done scenario and not focus on delegation and everything else because it just a hands-on person that wants to get out there and just get the stuff done. And I can't replicate myself. If I can make 10 robots that are identical to me, we could run, but that's not the case. So I had to look at what I didn't know. And that was
Beautiful.
the struggle I had is everything I had been doing per se was working but wasn't working. And if we're going to step this to the next level, we don't have a choice. We had to figure out what we could do different to get to that point.
Beautiful. So the top three situations to solve were what? If you had to define it in one word.
I mean, focus is probably the one word, and the reason why I say focus is because if you dial in on what you're laser focused on is making it important, then the rest delegate. And
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing we've probably learned throughout the course is delegation, figuring out what makes sense and what doesn't, and just do what makes sense.
Beautiful. And how has Self-Master changed you in terms of focus and mindset and everything that we're discussing before? What exactly changed?
Um, I, I mean, the biggest probably win for me was ring fence sessions, just understanding like, all right, I need to get this done. Here's the time frame I've got. I've got 90 minutes. This is what I have. And the most impressive thing is more times than not, we were done before the 90 minutes were up. Where prior to that, I could have sat in an office all afternoon and not accomplished what I did in one ring fence session just because there was no, once again, focus on the priority of what made sense within that time frame.
So if you had to quantify how much more productive would you be now? Much more focused, more disciplined, what would that be?
I mean, it's probably 100+%. I mean, the fact that you can even do two ring fence sessions or three a day and knock out what you used to took 3 days for. I mean, you can do days worth of work previously in hours. So I, I,
Beautiful.
I don't even know how you quantify that when you really look at it from that perspective.
It's like probably 5 to 6 times. If you can do in half a day what you previously did in 3 days, that's probably 6x. Which is,
Yeah,
it's consistent with the science of peak performance, right? So it sounds outlandish, but it is what the science tells us. If you do things this way, your productivity typically shoots up 5 by 5, which is what you're experiencing. And
absolutely.
and how does that? Because once you unlock that, everything else changes, right? You're naturally more disciplined. Well, you tell us, like how everything else changes, your mindset, your strategic acumen, your ambition. How does that change?
Everything. I mean, not only within the business, but all of a sudden the other doors started unlocking, whether they were financial opportunities, business opportunities, um, weight journey. I mean, the fact that, in over 2 months you lose 40 pounds and don't even hardly notice it. The ability to really focus in and hone down on how 2026 is going to play out for us. And the meetings and opportunities are just, it seems like doors become unlocked and become easier to achieve once you can actually focus in on what needs to happen. The fact that I'm sitting here at, right after lunch and I'm not on a job site where I previously would have been, but understanding, what, the work's still getting done and I'm not there. So that shift of the mind has been huge on saying it's going to be okay. Like we can do this. And previously that was not the thought process we had.
Yeah. So that is what comes with training your mind to think the right way, focus the right way, and get things done the right way. And in terms of business revenue, team expansion, how does that change over the past 3 to 4 months?
Well, I mean, I'm in the process of hiring I'd say project coordinator that's really taken over all of the sworn construction statements, job, like all just getting all the behind the scenes stuff, and honestly, the busy work that still needs somebody with a quality education behind them and understanding to do it, but probably is 10 times better than me. I
Hmm.
understand how to do it, but to be able to delegate that so I can look for the next deal, that's that's the different, that's the difference maker. Um, Even letting, my field guy, my PM in the field, kind of just run the show and start connecting with subs and run things directly. And we dug a hole 2 weeks ago for a new home, and I've only been to the job site once. Uh, Used to be there almost every day.
Yeah.
So letting people do what they do and trusting that they're doing the right thing has been night and day difference. The fact that I've taken over the office at home here and I can work from home 3 to 4 days a week. That was never the case before. So even my efficiency within the house and the place has changed.
That's beautiful. That's the power of thinking and designing and executing in systems like we teach you. It's not how much you work or how hard you work or how much willpower you have. It's how you design your life, your business, and your mind as an elite operator to get what you want without having to suffer for it. That's what's exciting, right? And
Absolutely.
what would you tell? Because remember when you joined 3, 4 months ago, you have tried a lot of things. You have tried all the coaching programs, you have tried books, you have tried apps, like a bunch of things. How is this different?
Uh, I mean, the fact we have the weekly call, that you can have other people that are struggling with similarities, and listen to them, and then understand and get the talk through. Um, the online courses are huge. And the replay, you can go back multiple times, which I've still probably been on module 5 the most because it's the one that's been the most helpful. But all of the other protocols too, right? Like, oh, I struggle with this. So you go click on X and it's there and give it a shot. Um, I've learned, for me, it's been probably not as fast as I would have liked, but the ability to follow through and do a little bite at a time has been huge.
Mhm.
I felt like it's a giant ball I had to get rolling, but now that the ball's starting to roll, it's getting easier.
That's
And
momentum, my friend.
yeah, absolutely. And previous, the thing that is different, I'd say the biggest is you can easily design it to your liking, meaning like what works for you. It's not a one size fit all scenario.
That's fantastic. And who do you think this is for?
You know, I understand business owners, but I think it's anybody, regardless of what you're doing, as far as trying to change the trajectory of your life. I mean, too many people are stuck in complacency, and if they continue to stay there, I mean, that's a choice. But um, I think even in America, or I don't know the rest of the world, but in America, I think we're too easy to be okay with what we have. And the reality is we're giving up so much opportunity on what else we could do.
How much faster things are moving? Because you said, 6 times more focus. Would you say things are moving 6 times faster? Because I know you've had to deal with, cash flow constraint because you run a very cash intensive business and you need to be, consistently managing a lot of different requests on your time and your attention and on your team. So it's hard to forecast. But at the same time, you have gone through a lot in the good sense. Like you've managed to accomplish a lot very quickly. So seems like everything has gathered a lot more compounding, a lot more momentum. How would you define that? Because that's very interesting because your business is not a digital business in which if you put more money into ads, you make more money because the funnel moves faster. Yours is complex. You're managing physical infrastructure. You have a lot of teams. How would you say this program has helped you shape your trajectory and also everybody working for you?
I would say the biggest thing is when you can sit down and understand and do the feedback loop and say, well, that hasn't worked the last 7 times, so why are we going to try it number 8? This is where we need to focus. This is what we need to change. Here's an example. We talk to realtors all the time, and they're like, 6, 8 months to build a new home, and I'm like, why? We knocked out the last two that we've done in about 100 days, so
Well,
not quite 4 months. And that's all because we did our groundwork up front to get our systems in place to follow through on the backside. Now, is there things we can continue to do better? Absolutely. Um, but I think the other biggest thing is when you write stuff down, right? When you document it so you can go back and follow up with it. That was probably my biggest obstacles in the past where it's all in my head. Well, it doesn't do any good to anybody else on the team. So when you can put all of that together and get your team on the same page with the opportunity, it's, I mean, that's the differentiator. And also with building, the biggest problem we have is the client experience, right? I mean, that's what people are going to talk about every time when they build, remodel, do anything. What was it like to work with the person? So when we can give them a quality experience because we have everything dialed in, it only helps our business grow. And that's really what we've been focused on and understanding. And me stepping away have been able to see that, hey, this is what makes sense and this is what we need to do.
beautiful. And last question, because I remember that we didn't address this, but in the beginning, you had this battle with self-confidence because things were not moving fast enough. How has that changed?
Well, I think the biggest thing is not as much the speed as it is understanding and having some philosophy on timing and why things are the way they are and doing the feedback loop as far as saying, you know, we're in this position because of X, and the only way out of it is if we change it to Y. And what we've done in the past is just make that same circle, and that's what we have to now no longer do. And that's what we found is that we were able to start moving faster, even though we slowed up. But the amount of hurdles that have been thrown at me in the last 2 years, I think most people would have shut the doors and said, "The heck with this." But but I looked at it as okay. I still say this is going to be $100 million company. Like that's the goal, that's the focus, that's where I'm going. What is a couple $100,000 in speed bumps?
Exactly.
I think Richard Branson said if you want to be a billionaire, you got to be willing to lose millions.
Yeah,
So if you're going to be a millionaire, you got to be willing to lose thousands.
that's beautiful. Well, that is no more self-doubt anymore. That's gone. You're clear, you're focused, and you're consistent. Beautiful. Peter, absolute pleasure talking to you, as always, one of our best clients. And now it's time to design your next roadmap. So let's get to it. Thank you for jumping
Sounds
in.
good.
Bye bye.